Hello everyone, my name is Maya, and today I want to discuss with you the potential challenges that may affect the State Library of Queensland's collections in the future. I want to focus particularly on disaster planning and preservation, as these are two of the most likely challenges we will face. I hope to get you thinking about these two challenges in ways you may not have considered, such as how these processes can help the collection grow and bounce back after potential setbacks. So why is it so important to plan for disasters? Well, according to the CSIRO and the Bureau of Meteorology, the effects of climate change have been increasing in the last couple of years. This has created extreme weather patterns, leading to an increase in natural disasters. As I'm sure you all know, Brisbane City has had some major weather events in recent years, such as the February 2022 and January 2011 floods. Both of these disasters had a large impact on our city and the State Library, having had water enter not only the basement and car park, but the ground level as well. Now, while we have experienced some of the more major types of disasters, and it is important to plan for them, minor disasters cannot be ignored, as they are often more unpredictable. Disasters come in all shapes and sizes, and can range from ceiling leaks, pest infestations, and digital file corruption, to the much more dangerous fires and floods. Having a clear and well-documented disaster plan can assist us in decreasing potential collection losses and minimize the time the library must be closed to fix any complications. Now, I am sure you are already aware of the necessity for a disaster plan, but what does it entail? Well, let's take a look at the 4 key strategies of disaster planning. These are prevention, preparation, response, and recovery. Prevention refers to the measures we will take to minimize the effects and/or prevent potential disasters from happening. This process helps us to identify the areas of our collection that are at the greatest risk for disaster. To do this, we must first assess the most vulnerable areas of the collection. For example, due to our proximity to the Brisbane River, any items we may store on the lowest levels are more vulnerable to flooding. Our next step involves the likelihood of the identified risk happening. Now, when we look at flood risks for Brisbane, it is on the lower end of the risk scale, as floods are more likely to happen from December to February. This is not a year-round risk. And as we know from our history, the level of flooding required to enter our building has only occurred twice in the last 20 years. Then, we must outline how the risk can be reduced. This can include implementing systems like security cameras, digital backups, and fire suppression systems. Now, if we look again at our flood example, we can reduce the risk to our physical collections by ensuring important and irreplaceable information is not stored on the lower levels, and by having backup generators on higher levels to keep essential electrical systems going, such as climate control systems. Preparation refers to the development of plans for a potential emergency. This involves identifying and outlining the steps and supplies required to aid staff in an emergency. Some of the key details that should be outlined include emergency contacts and who needs to be called in what situation. This could be emergency services in the case of a fire, or teams who specialize in restoring collections that have been affected by a potential leak. Supplies are another detail that needs to be identified, as having items on hand to aid in an emergent situation can greatly reduce the impact of a disaster. After identifying these steps, we should then consider how we can train staff members so they know exactly what must be done in an emergent situation, preventing it from becoming a larger scale issue. Response is what takes place after staff have ensured all patrons are out of the way of any potential harm. This is where we go about following the plans we have outlined in the preparation period. Any emergency calls are made, supplies are retrieved, and the staff follow the strategies in the plan depending on the type of situation. Finally, we have recovery. These are the steps that must be followed to get the library back to business as usual with minimal disruptions. This can include assessing items that can be fixed or need to be disposed of, cleaning and drying areas that may have been affected by water, and replenishing emergency supplies. As you can see, it is essential to have a plan in place to quickly get any disaster under control. Collection preservation is another challenge that we must consider that goes hand in hand with disaster planning in keeping collections safe from unforeseen circumstances. This process ensures our collections remain accessible regardless of age and condition, whether they be digital or physical items. As we house a large collection of irreplaceable items, it is extremely important to consider the steps that must be taken to preserve these items so we may continue to provide important information from Queensland's history. To maintain ongoing access to our collection, we will need to constantly assess the needs of our items, such as their condition, potential changes to storage or displays, and digitization needs. While some of our collection is made up of easily replaceable items, the bigger concern is the large portion of original documents and photos, such as the items in our John Oxley Library. These items can be extremely delicate, so we must consider how we can provide access without compromising the delicate, one-of-a-kind item. With items such as these, one avenue that works well is digitization, as it reduces wear and tear on an item that is already unstable and ensures a copy is always accessible. However, there are some issues to consider when digitizing an item, such as the file format that works best for accessing this item, legal authorities to make copies, and most importantly, how quickly the file will become out of date for technology. When we think about how many updates apps require, it is highly likely in a couple of months the file will need updates in order to keep it running smoothly. As you can see, these two processes are extremely important to consider as potential challenges we will face. By following the steps I have outlined, we will be able to provide access to all kinds of information for years to come. I hope this presentation has triggered some new thought processes and helps you to consider how we can use disaster planning and preservation processes to protect our beautiful collection from circumstances that may be out of our control.